It provokes us. It inspires us. It stirs our imagination, feeds our creativity, and sets us in motion. It takes us places we never thought possible. It is freedom, experimentation, pain, and joy. It creates new myths and reinvents old ones. It soothes the weary and offers us hope, touches our very souls. It breaks new ground, breaks down walls, and brings us together. Art connects us with ourselves and drives us forward, telling our stories and giving us voice. Art shows us who we are. Arts are part of us all.
Hello, welcome to the Canada Council for the Arts Annual Public Meeting 2025. Bonjour et bienvenue à l'Assemblée publique annuelle de 2025. My name is Aubrey Moriarty, Corporate Secretary for the Canada Council. Je m'appelle Aubrey Moriarty, secrétaire du Conseil d'administration. J'ai le plaisir d'agir à titre d'animatrice pour cette Assemblée publique. It's my pleasure to be your host for today's event. So a few things to get everyone set up before we get started. This meeting will take place in both official languages. L'Assemblée se déroulera dans les deux langues officielles. For those of you online, here's how you can change the language. If you're on a desktop, click on the language button on the sidebar to the left. If you're on a mobile device, click the three-line menu. Pour les personnes en ligne, voici comment modifier la langue. Si vous utilisez un ordinateur de bureau, cliquez sur le bouton de langue qui se trouve dans la barre latérale de gauche. Si vous utilisez un appareil mobile, cliquez sur le menu à 3 lignes. Pour les personnes qui sont sur place, nous avons des écouteurs disponibles pour que vous ayez accès à la traduction simultanée. For those of you in the room, there are headsets available for simultaneous interpretation. We also have American Sign Language and Langue des Signes Québécoise available. To access this, you can click on the link at the bottom left of the screen. La Langue des Signes Québécoise et American Sign Language sont disponibles. Pour y accéder, vous pouvez cliquer sur le lien en bas à la gauche de l'écran. If at any point you're having technical difficulties, click on the button at the bottom of your screen. Si vous rencontrez des difficultés techniques, cliquez le bouton au bas de votre écran. J'aimerais maintenant inviter Monique Monach sur la scène pour l'accueil sur le territoire et la cérémonie d'ouverture. Monique est porteuse de savoir des Algonquins du Lac-Barrière. I would like to invite Monique Monach to the stage for the land welcome and opening ceremony. Monique is a knowledge carrier for the Algonquins of Barrier Lake. You want to join me? Monique, thank you for being here and for these teachings, and I offer you this gift of tobacco for the land welcome and the opening closing ceremonies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pajashig, welcome. Welcome to unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin territory. Monique Monach and Dijnikos, Kidikanik and Ishnawbek and Dojiba. My name is Monique Monach, and I'm a member of the Algonquins of Barrier Lake. And as I was thinking about how the expression of art, I had the very good fortune of speaking with Simon Brockapay earlier today, and we were talking about art, and we were talking about how it expresses our humanity, and how it brings us together, because he spoke about how in other countries where he's been, they have very similar images and very similar, especially in the Indigenous community, similar worldviews. And we have stories. Humanity is the youngest of creation. Everything else was created first. All the plants, the animals. We say those who fly, those who swim, those who crawl. And from them, we received teachings, and we received strengths or attributes. From pine tree, we learn patience because it takes so long for them to grow. They say from the wolves, we learn family. From From the eagle, we learn about love, and we learn about vision, but not just physical vision because of the eyesight of the eagle, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and what our vision is, what our imagination is. And I think having received those gifts from creation, it wasn't just for the Indigenous people, it was for everybody. It was for all human beings. And I think that's something that the Canada Council works very hard to ensure, is that the personal expression, the community expression, the cultural expression is all made possible because of the work that they do and of the way that they support artists. And everybody in our community, everybody is an artist. Everybody has a gift. And how you express it is as myriad as there are creations. So I'd like to open this space with just a few words to the Creator. Kachimigwich Jemnado. Thank you, Creator. Thank you for everything you've placed in our homelands that help human beings to live well. We acknowledge and honor the water, the plants, the trees, the rivers, the oceans, the lakes. We acknowledge and honor the human beings and and everything that helps creation to grow. We thank you for the sky world. We thank you for our mother, the earth, and all the things that live beneath the surface of the earth. We ask that you help good words be spoken here today, strong words that impact us emotionally and spiritually. We thank you for our ability to prepare ourselves spiritually for the spirit world, for when this short physical world ends. We thank you for our ability to bring peace to one another, especially during times of trouble and anguish. We ask that you remember our family and friends, especially those who are ill, whether physical, mental, or through addictions. And we hope they have a good day today and that they return to us soon as role models and as mentors. And we remember to live our lives with great respect for all living things. Kachimigwich, 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 Kachimigwich. Thank you very much. I know we're going to have a terrific meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Monique. Merci beaucoup. Un enregistrement de cette assemblée sera disponible dans les 2 langues officielles sur notre site web au cours des prochaines semaines. Si vous utilisez les médias sociaux, servez-vous du mot-clic Conseil des Arts 25. If you're using social media, please use the hashtag CanadaCouncil25. Je vais maintenant vous donner un aperçu de l'ordre du jour. Pour commencer, nous allons écouter le président du conseil d'administration, Jessie Wente. Join me on stage, Jessie. Ensuite, Michelle Challa, directrice et chef de la direction, va faire une allocution. Et une période de questions suivra. Nous avons un programme très chargé, alors commençons. J'invite maintenant Jessie Wente à prendre la parole. Jessie, it's over to you.
Merci, Aubrey. Thank you so much. Bonjour, hello, bonjour to everyone joining us today online and here in the room in person as well. As many of you know, this will be my last annual public meeting as I complete my 5-year mandate as the chair of the board of the Canada Council for the Arts in July. It has been a great privilege to serve artists, arts organizations, and the entire community as the chair, and before that, as a member of the board. I'm extremely proud to be the first Indigenous, first Anishinaabe chair of the Canada Council. Sure. Firsts are important almost entirely because of their capacity to lead to seconds, thirds, fourths, and so on. And so, to my broader community of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis folks, I want to say, take up these roles. It is hard work, but it is meaningful work. We need our people on both the inside and outside of these organizations to transform them, and to transform this place. Let's continue this work. In my time as chair, the arts experienced significant challenges. At the start of my mandate, we were in the early days of the COVID pandemic. And now, at the end of my time here, we're experiencing intense unpredictability. Through it all, the Council has been a steadfast support for the arts, and I know it will continue to play this vital role. I'm proud of the many things we've accomplished together. I'm thinking, for example, of the work we undertook to serve communities in every corner of the country. This is about upholding the Council's mandate as a national funder that supports the arts from coast to coast to coast. Notably, the Council has deepened its relationship with the North over the last 5 years. We co-hosted the Arctic Arts Summit in 2022. The summit brought together participants from across the circumpolar region to discuss and collaborate on topics of shared interest. And we have now passed the baton on to Sweden to host the next summit in 2026. 3 co-delivery partnerships came out of the summit we hosted, one each with the Inuit Arts Foundation, the Government of Yukon, and the Government of the Northwest Territories. These partnerships have ushered in a new way of working for the Council, centered on meeting the unique needs and priorities of the region as they articulate them. Put simply, this grounds our work in community perspectives and ensures we work together so the arts are strong in all parts of the country. I'm also pleased to see the board now holding a meeting every year in a community outside of Ottawa. Last June, we had an insightful meeting in Newfoundland and Labrador. And this will continue in future years. In fact, the board will meet in Alberta later this year. Through these meetings, we're able to connect with and hear from folks in the community, making important connections between our work on the board and what's happening across the country. I look forward to watching the Council deepen its connections with the arts community further, ensuring its relevance all over Canada. I want to congratulate Cheryl Hickman on being named the next chair of the board of the Canada Council for the Arts. Cheryl and I started on the board at the same time, and it has been an incredible pleasure working with her over these past several years. She will provide important strategic oversight and continuity for the Council as chair. I also want to thank the employees of the Canada Council for the Arts, who bring so much dedication, intelligence, and care to their work every single day. And I want to extend my thanks to Michelle Shala for her important leadership as the Director and CEO of the Council. It has been a true pleasure and privilege to work with you, Michelle. And on that note, I will now turn it over to Michelle for her remarks.
Merci, Jessie. Merci, Monique. Hi, everyone. It's so exciting to see everyone. Okay, I'll be more poised. Donc, merci à toutes et à tous de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui. L'Assemblée publique annuelle est une excellente occasion de parler du travail du Conseil avec la communauté artistique, mais ce n'est pas la seule. Pour moi, c'est plutôt une étape dans une conversation en continu avec la communauté. Et en tant que directrice et chef de la direction, ma priorité au cours de la dernière année et demie, c'est vraiment de renforcer la collaboration du Conseil des arts avec la communauté artistique. J'ai mis l'accent sur le renforcement de notre engagement dans toutes les régions du pays. J'ai eu la chance de rencontrer plusieurs d'entre vous dans vos communautés. J'ai organisé des rencontres avec des artistes, des leaders du secteur des arts, des travailleuses et travailleurs du milieu culturel, des organismes de soutien aux arts et bien d'autres à travers le pays. Et grâce à notre engagement continu, nous avons pu mieux comprendre la situation actuelle des arts. Cependant, nous avions besoin de données pour appuyer cette compréhension et obtenir vraiment un aperçu complet. C'est pourquoi l'année dernière, nous avons réalisé un sondage national auprès du milieu artistique et vous avez été plusieurs à partager vos réflexions. Plus de 7000 artistes et organisations de toutes disciplines artistiques dans l'ensemble des provinces des territoires y ont répondu. So from the survey of the arts community that we did last year, we were able to develop an evidence-based portrait of the state of the arts, and we published that on our website. That research is there to help you tell decision makers in your communities about the impact of your work, the challenges that you face, and why public investment in the arts is so critical. So the survey we did revealed many, many important findings. For example, the majority of respondents indicated that financial security has been unstable these past 2 years. Respondents also unanimously agreed that public funding is crucial for adapting to how they work for greater sustainability. So to address the challenges facing the arts, we know here at the Canada Council that we have a leadership role to play. And this includes bringing together the arts community to develop shared solutions. And that's something that we did here last fall, hosting here at the Canada Council a 2-day meeting with art service organizations, as well as provincial, territorial, and municipal arts funders. We want to continue to bring the community together to talk about today's challenges, parce que l'enjeu est de taille en ce moment. Les arts soutiennent et fait accroître l'économie canadienne ainsi que les économies locales à travers le pays. Ils renforcent le sentiment d'appartenance, ils améliorent la santé mentale et le bien-être. Ils représentent nos identités et incarnent les valeurs canadiennes. Et en ce moment, les Canadiennes et les Canadiens se tournent vers les arts peut-être plus que jamais. Ils se tournent vers les arts car ils nous aident à mieux nous comprendre, à échanger, à créer des liens entre nous. Et les arts renforcent notre sentiment d'appartenance malgré notre vaste géographie. Et nous devons maintenant profiter de cette importante occasion pour raconter notre histoire des retombées de l'investissement public dans les arts. So through our engagement with the arts community, we also heard about how we at the Canada Council can do better to serve you. And in particular, over the last year, we have heard about 2 main areas for improvement. First is the critical importance of feedback to your grant applications. Second, the importance of artistic disciplinary expertise on peer assessment committees. So I want to share that we have already started to make changes to address both those areas. So a concrete example is where we've been piloting in the last year a process where feedback on applications is given in a group setting. And we are also strengthening the use of artistic disciplinary expertise where the evaluation of artistic criteria is key to the result. And we are working on many, many more things coming, so please be on the lookout for all of that. And one of the things I really suggest you do, if you haven't, is sign up on our website to receive our newsletters and e-bulletins. This is also a new approach that we've launched this year, where we want to share the latest news in a timely way that is accessible, not only about what changes are happening, but how we are responding to what we're seeing in the arts sector. Donc, quoi que l'avenir réserve aux arts ou à notre pays, le Conseil des arts s'engage à continuer de travailler avec vous pour bien comprendre la situation sur le terrain, son évolution et pour trouver des solutions qui sont vraiment adaptées aux réalités. Donc, en conclusion, je tiens vraiment à remercier le personnel du Conseil des arts pour son dévouement à l'appui des arts au Canada. Je tiens également à remercier le Conseil d'administration de son travail essentiel. And I do want to take a moment to thank Jesse Wente, not only for his dedication to the Canada Council as chair, but your profound sense of service to the communities. And it's been really my honor, Jesse, to have the opportunity to work with you. It's important to recognize our humanity. We're not just, we're people at the heart of it, and that's what matters at the end is the relationships. So finally, really, probably most important of all, is to thank the artists and the people working in the arts for sharing your talents, your hard work, and your creativity with us at a time when Canadians have an important opportunity to come together and decide where do we want to go next. You give expression to the ideas, the hopes, the dreams that can guide our country. You inspire us, you make us proud on the world stage, and you unite us in all of our vibrant diversity to create the future together. So thank you. So probably now for the best part, nous allons passer à la période des questions. Donc, j'aimerais inviter ma collègue Lisa Johnson, qui est la directrice générale des programmes de subvention aux arts, à se joindre à nous sur la scène. Donc, on va inviter les personnes qui sont dans la salle à poser leurs questions dans n'importe quelle langue officielle de votre choix. Si vous avez une question, veuillez lever votre main. Une personne va venir vous voir avec un microphone. So for those of you in the room, please feel free to ask your question in your official language of choice. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and one of the council colleagues will come and bring a microphone to you. On va aussi répondre aux questions qu'on a reçues à l'avance par courriel. Donc, j'en profite pour remercier tous ceux et celles qui nous ont soumis des questions. We received more than 100 questions ahead of the meetings, touching on a whole range of different topics. Of course, we can't answer them all here now, but what we did is we chose 3 questions that's related to the most common themes that emerged in all of the questions that we received. And so after we do the 3 questions we received online, then it's going to be over to you. Just a little note for those of you who are here, we have a number of amazing Canada Council colleagues who are present. So if you do have questions either that weren't responded to in the moment we have now, we all want to engage with you. And also for people who have questions that are very specific to their grant, your situation, please know, reach out to any of us. We're all identified wearing lanyards, and please find us and we'll answer all those questions. So to start, we will play our first pre-recorded question.
Hi, I'm Jessica Scott Cairn, a children's author in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And my question for the Canada Council is this: what can the Canada Council and the artists it supports do collectively to help the Canadian government showcase pride in our culture and resist threats against our sovereignty? Thank you.
It's an excellent question that's come up quite a bit, and I'd like to ask Jessie to answer that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jessica, first of all, for that great question. It's certainly one that meets the moment, I would say. So I'll answer it maybe first as chair, and then I'll take it as a slightly different tack. So you're right. The arts have a really special ability to create a sense of belonging and unite us as a country. That's certainly been my experience at every concert or show I have ever been to, is a sense of community and belonging in those spaces that I think is just so important in terms of how we exist as humans together on this planet, and that the arts really can embody Canadian values. The arts, we also know, improve health and well-being, and they are, of course, an economic driver. For example, the arts and cultural sector contributes nearly $60 billion to Canadians' economy annually, and just about 850,000 people work in cultural jobs here in Canada. So as the government confronts various challenges facing our country right now, let's tell them that the arts have a vital role to play as a part of the solution. Let's tell them the arts need government investment to realize their full potential to benefit all of Canadians. I really believe we need to see a significant reinvestment in arts and culture in Canada to make us more resilient to some of the cultural pressures that exist beyond our borders, but that will be here anyway. And besides the government, we also need to mobilize and the public to show their support for Canadian artists. So watch a Canadian show, go to a Canadian play, buy a Canadian book, listen to a Canadian song. These are great ways to do that. So let's not shy away from encouraging them to include the arts on their list of things to shop local and buy Canadian. So let's make sure we do all of those things to support each other and support our stories. But that's sort of my answer as the chair, and there's a lot of stats and all that stuff. I maybe also want to answer quickly as an artist who works in Canada and whose art practice is very much in dialogue, at least a big part of it, is in dialogue with this place, the people here, about our past, our present, our future, where we're going. And of course, I think that's so incredibly important because it allows when our stories are able to share space with each other, when our stories are able to mingle, and we're able to be inspired, and we're able to share our dreams, then we become part of the same place, part of the same unit, in a way that makes it harder for people to divide us by nonsense, by things that aren't real, that we will be more resilient to misinformation, disinformation, if our belief is centered around our relationships to each other and this place. And that the arts are a way for us to ground it. And so as an artist, I would just say the whole point of trying to make art on this place is for the people that are here to understand this place better so that people can feel that they belong here in the same way that I feel I belong here. And I also want everyone else to feel that way too. And then it would be so much easier to let loud noises just be loud noises and not interrupt our movement and what we're trying to accomplish here. So I would also say that as an artist. But thank you very much for the question, Jessica.
Excellent question and really inspiring answer, Jesse. Okay, next pre-submitted question en français. Donc, la prochaine question provient de Jean-Christophe. Dans un contexte marqué par des perturbations économiques, une inflation persistante et la hausse des coûts de production et de diffusion artistique, comment le Conseil des arts du Canada compte-t-il adapter ses stratégies de financement afin d'assurer la stabilité et la viabilité à long terme des artistes et des organismes culturels? Donc, je vais répondre à cette question-là. Donc, je vais commencer pour dire que le Conseil des arts est extrêmement conscient de ces défis-là. Les défis de l'inflation, des pressions économiques, tout ce qui touche le secteur en l'ensemble. On est également très conscient que l'incertitude économique causée par la guerre commerciale aggrave profondément le milieu artistique. Donc, dans ce contexte-là, je peux vous assurer que le Conseil des arts demeure engagé à soutenir les artistes et les organismes artistiques. C'est essentiel. Puis, dans cette logique et dans cette compréhension des enjeux, on travaille pour ajuster nos stratégies de financement. Donc, on va favoriser des approches qui sont adaptées aux défis actuels et des approches qui renforcent la résilience et la durabilité du milieu. Donc, pour vous donner quelques exemples concrets, on va apporter des modifications au programme pour offrir un financement plus flexible, plus stable et plus prévisible. Ça va permettre au secteur de mieux s'orienter pour qu'est-ce qui s'en vient. Ça va aussi inclure des nouvelles occasions d'accéder à un financement pluriannuel. Pour tenir compte des effets de l'inflation, on va éliminer le plafond sur les coûts de subsistance et de déplacement pour les artistes individuels. Il y a beaucoup d'autres choses qu'on peut faire, mais je voulais vous donner 2 exemples très concrets. Je veux aussi ajouter que le Conseil des arts se situe dans ce qu'on considère un écosystème de financement. Ce n'est pas seulement le Conseil des arts. On travaille en étroite collaboration avec les autres bailleurs de fonds au niveau provincial, territorial, municipal, privé, vraiment pour trouver des façons de collaborer de façon innovatrice et stratégique, toutes pour mieux servir le milieu artistique. On comprend vraiment les pressions qui sont vécues par le milieu et on va tout faire pour aider. Donc, merci beaucoup pour cette question-là. Très, très pertinent. Okay, so then we have a final question that we'll answer and then move to the room. So the final question from the pre-submitted ones is, can you describe changes coming to the portal? So before I pass it over to Lisanne, I just want to say how much we all at the Canada Council really appreciate the time that the arts sector has taken to suggest improvements to our granting programs and given us feedback on how the current portal is working. All of this has informed the changes that we're going to be making. And they're made with serving the arts community as first in mind. So I will pass it over to Lisanne. Thanks, Lisanne.
Thank you, Michelle. As Michelle has referenced in some of her remarks, there's lots happening this year at the Canada Council. We're bringing a number of changes both to our programs, but also to what we call the portal. And for those of you who, just to make sure everybody understands what the question is about, it's a reference to our application portal. So our funding portal that applicants use to be able to submit their applications. So we did announce recently, I'm going to start with the portal and talk a little bit about that. We did announce recently that we are modernizing our granting systems to bring them up to today's standards of accessibility, efficiency, effectiveness, security, and that will include an updated granting portal. We don't have the timelines yet. We're still finalizing that, but we do expect to be able to launch a new portal sometime this summer. It will have a new look and feel. It will have new features, new functionality. Some of the things that you can expect, we are making it easier to apply for an applicant profile, to search for funding, to start an application without delay. We are embedding some features where you can communicate with us directly in the portal. We are trying to simplify our application forms and some of our processes. So our application forms will have some grant writing tips embedded right into the form so that you can relate the question we're asking directly to the evaluation criteria. We are going to, as part of, Michelle mentioned that one of the common requests that we've heard is, can you provide feedback on our applications? We understand that need. One of the ways that we're going to try to address it is we're going to be building into our new portal and our results package your ability to see how you scored against the criteria. So when you receive the results on your application, you'll also get the average scores for each of the evaluation criteria so that you're really clear, where your application was perceived as really strong by the committee, but also where there might be opportunities for you to improve. We're also trying to just make it easier to apply. So for example, budgets will be integrated into the application form. So for those of you who have struggled with downloading and uploading Excel spreadsheets, that's going to be gone. You'll be able to do that directly into the form. And also that's going to give us great data to be able to understand our impact. For those artists who are deaf or who have a disability, we're also making the process of submitting an application for access requests and access costs much easier. Those are going to be integrated into the original application form. There will be no need for a separate application after the fact and to have to wait for those results. So lots of changes coming to the portal that we think are really exciting. As Michelle mentioned, we're also bringing some changes to our programs. So we're taking advantage of the system change to be able to make some improvements to our funding opportunities based on what we've heard from clients, from peers, from our program officers who really understand these programs. So that will include 2 brand new components. We're going to introduce a microgrant component, so that will support really time-sensitive, simpler applications for things like professional development or travel that could support your career or advancing your networks and markets. We're going to roll out a new component called composite grants. And this ties back a little bit to what Michelle was saying about how we want to be able to offer funding that is a little, that provides more stability, more sustainability, more long-term support. So this will be project funding for multiple years or multiple projects, but really flexible so that you can mix and match various activities and bring them into to one application form. We'll also have some combined components, streamlined funding, so we're trying to make things much more flexible for you. I will say we have many components that aren't changing, and we are not making any kind of fundamental changes to what we support. So all of our currently eligible activities, those will all still be available and eligible even when we launch our new portal and roll out these new programs. And we're also doing these really to better serve the sector, to make it easier to apply. We are not reducing our impact. We're not reducing our investment in our funding components. If I could just mention one thing, I know I could talk about the portal all day, and you can come and ask me about it. But what I'll just say is we do want people to know that there will be a 6-week transition period where we are bridging our old portal and our new portal. Neither will be available, so there is going to be an approximate 6-week transition window. We'll have much more information about that coming in early April. So please stay tuned and please subscribe to our mailing list.
Thank you so much, Lizanne. Okay, so thanks to everyone who submitted questions in advance, and now it's over to you. And as I said, if you raise your hand if you have a question, we'll bring a mic, and if we don't get to your answer here or your question, we're all here after, so please come and reach out, and we'll be happy to talk to everyone who's here. So.
Hello, everyone. Oh, I have my question right here. Beyond funding, does the Canada Council see itself playing a leadership role in national initiatives that are vital for the sector, but perhaps too complex for individual organizations to undertake alone? If so, how does it approach these efforts, and which areas might the Canada Council prioritize?
That's a great question. So I think the first answer is absolutely yes. I think the Canada Council plays a critical role in arts funding, so definitely providing the financial support, but we also have a huge role in terms of advocacy, and like the small a, I'm not talking about lobbying advocacy, but advocacy for why investing in the arts is critical. Some of the areas that we are starting to, and the idea of collaboration, we work with every single funder in this country. We hosted a summit for all the funders a few years ago, and we have a secretariat here at the Canada Council that groups together as a network all of the provincial and territorial funders. We participate in meetings in each province and territory with all the levels of funders. So for sure, that is the way of the future, along with funding. So we feel, because we have this national mandate, not only do we have insights at the national level, we also want to connect on the ground to understand the wide diversity of the collective, I would say. So the areas that I think are huge priorities is looking at the question of what is the impact of investing on the arts. If we are not able to demonstrate concretely with strong evidence and arguments that investing in the arts actually not only is critical for our well-being, for our sense of belonging, for our communities, our voices, it is essentially now more than ever from an economic perspective. We were just talking, Jesse and I, about the critical role that the arts contribute to not only the sustainability, but to growing our economy. So that would be one area that we are very, very invested in. There are the other areas like looking at the impact of transformation. So how do you build sustainability so that the arts community is not always operating from a year-to-year model, on the model of precarity, on the questions of how do you make a living in this country? So how do we build capacity? How do we build succession planning? How do we build leadership? How do we build a sense of connection, yet at the same time understanding that we're a huge country with such diversity whether it's in terms of our different communities, whether it's regional, whether it's languages. And so the opportunity we have to strengthen, especially now, what does a Canadian culture mean, is another area I think where Canada Council can play a big role. I'll just end by saying that the power the Canada Council has to convene the community is another area that we have not sufficiently deepened. So we're making lots of progress in trying to build those connections, not just me, but the board, by Jesse mentioned being in different parts of the country, the entire staff being more connected and present. But this idea of, working differently on these levels, I'm conscious that I'm talking a lot. I should leave more room for questions. We can have maybe one or two questions and continue this conversation. But I think what you ask is like a uber profound question, and really appreciate it. There's a lady here. I think there's a person, in the corner. And I want to mention it because it's hard to see that person over there. So I have the full view of the room.
Thank you so much. My question is around what kind of art is considered art in Canada, especially right now as it is becoming more difficult for Canadian artists to travel. I know there's a stand-up comic right now who has a visa to go tour the States, is canceling shows because they can no longer cross the border. So maybe in the stand-up comedy community, I know battle rap is actually a huge, huge art form in Canada. One of the biggest battle rap leagues in the world is based in Toronto, and they have struggled for funding for years. And how are we looking to actually include folks like stand-up comedians who are not in the theater realm, who may not have been in a sketch group or gone to Second City or have a theater background, but are fully storytellers and artists who fund themselves and find ways to creatively fund themselves, to actually include them in our arts funding and in our art spaces? Because I think orgs like this one actually have a place to not only fund, but also to grant, to let folks know this is actually valid, that stand-up comedy, for example, is art, that battle rap is art, that other art forms that may not be in the mainstream because of class, because of racism, because of access, are also artistic art forms and reflect Canada. And they're already reflecting us all over the world. And how can we see them in our institutions and funded by our institutions as well? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Lisanne, I'm going to ask you to jump in.
Sure. Yeah, great question. Thank you very much for it. So in the revision of our portal and the systems that we're rolling out later this year, one of the things that we're doing is we're simplifying our applicant profiles. Right now, they're very organized by fairly specific and potentially exclusive disciplines. We're instead making the profiles much more flexible and open to reflect the fact that what is considered art does change, and to leave a little bit more space for artists to be able to define what that means for them. So in our both our application forms, but also in our applicant profiles, you'll be able to identify your artistic practice. Battle rap is eligible. It is something that is supported through the council. You're right, in terms of stand-up comedy, we have said, we'll support stand-up comedians, but they kind of need to go through the portal, through the theater. So we are addressing that. We are also very mindful, though, I would say, of the complementarity of the Canada Council's funding. We are here to support professional artists and arts workers and arts organizations, however that is defined by the arts community. Other federal funders support cultural industries. So we want to make sure there's also really good complementarity. But our focus, really is on the artists, and we want to have some flexibility about how that's defined. Thank you. It's a great question.
So we have time for one final question, and then please reach out after. We'll have lots of chat. So there's, I think, a lady here in red and a guy with a hat. Yep, go ahead, lady.
And you can come find us.
Yes, come and see
Lots
us.
of questions.
Yes.
Hello, Ottawa. Hello, my dear Canadians. I'm a composer of classical music. My name is Olga Shapira, and I have 12 years of professional education. more than 20 years, I writing the music, and I would like to be heard here in Canada. I giving all my heart, all my soul to this creation work. Before the pandemic, in 2018, I was made a tour to Europe. My music was heard in Estonia, in Finland, and Russia. When the pandemic came, it was very difficult time for all of us, for my family also. But even in this difficult situation, I was still working hard, and create my big work, my first symphony for the symphony orchestra. I would like to share this piece with all Canadian people. I was applied for a grant, but was refused, somehow without any explanations. I'm here to ask you for help. I want my music to be here with all Canadian people. I think they deserve to hear this piece, especially the symphony for orchestra, and some other good creation for chamber orchestra, for vocal work. And I'm looking forward to get the help from you. Thank you. And together we can bring my music to life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story with us and for talking about how challenging it can be. You asked the question to the right people, because in this room we have many colleagues, and we see you and we hear you. And one of my colleagues, all of them standing back there, we're going to come and talk to you exactly about how you can access funding, and we'll do everything we can to provide that feedback. Thank you for asking the question and for sharing with us. So, thank you, everyone. This concludes our question and answer period, and just a huge thanks for all of you for joining us online and here in person. So to conclude our annual public meeting, I'll now invite Monique Menach back to deliver our closing ceremony.
I'd like to thank everyone and for being here, for the wonderful questions. I learned a lot today, and I'm looking forward to cornering a couple of program officers. And I look forward to the moves that Canada Council is making with the portal and with the other procedures and policies. And I'd like to close this space with just a few words to the Creator. Kachimigwich Jemnido. Thank you, Creator. Thank you for the water, for the plants, for the trees, for the ones who fly, for the ones who swim, for the ones who crawl, for the furred, for the feathered, for the four-legged, and for the two-legged. And thank you for bringing everyone here together today, both in person and online, with open hearts, with open minds. Help us to speak with compassion and gentleness. Help us to work together for the benefit of all of our communities. Kachimigwich, 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 Kachimigwich. Thank you very much.